So at the NHL draft this past weekend, the Habs kind of stole the show. Not so much in a great way. They proceeded to take, with the 31st overall pick, Logan Mailloux. Is that how you pronounce it, guys?
Yeah, pretty close.
All right, good enough. And of course, if you have been living on the moon the last month, he's the kid who, I guess, took some illicit photos of a young lady and then posted it to his teammates, something along those lines. Obviously, not a very bright decision by a young man. And he asked everyone not to draft him. He felt he wasn't worthy of being drafted and that he was going to take the year to prove that he is a better person than this. And the Habs do a little greasy move as they allow teams to pass on him because he probably would have been drafted a lot higher, and then they proceed to take him. So I'll ask you guys about what the Habs did, how you feel about it. It seems to go in line with Marc Bergevin, his moves lately. Apparently, he's even interested in signing Tony DeAngelo. They were interested apparently in Slava Voinov before. So some questionable character choices that the Habs are making lately. But I'll kick it to you guys and give me a thought of what you think of the whole situation.
I'm not shocked that if all the teams, if I had to choose one team to draft that kid, it would have been the Habs, 100%. It would have been the Habs. I'm not shocked the fact that I heard rumblings that the kid was going to be actually drafted in the second or third round. There were rumblings that teams did that. We're going to do that. I just found it so coincidental that when they took him, there was a press release ready to go, like 5 minutes after the fact. They had this plan. Like this was their pick. They knew nobody was going to touch him. What I find interesting the most is that Bergevin said, the club will be behind him and to work them through. Did not mention anything about the victim. And why I think that's so important is if he showed just a bit of maybe remorse is not the word, but a bit of just appreciation for the victim and the family in this situation. I'm not saying it would have made it better, but maybe it would have softened the blow a bit. And I think Montreal is that type of team where they're going to try to do something here in free agency, something big, something to get kind of to draw the attention away from what just happened in the draft. And it's almost like one of those sleight of hand, here's one thing, but don't watch this hand is doing something else. I think they're going to try to just get away from that and try to make just kind of slip it under the rug and make sure it goes away. I don't think this is going away anytime soon, only because hockey's becoming a lot more progressive between when we talked about this, Joe, women broadcasters, scouts, front office jobs now. It's happening more and more. Anybody want to venture a guess how many women work for the Montreal Canadiens? Rhymes with Nero. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of. They didn't need it after the season that they just had. They didn't need it. It's almost like it just threw shit on whatever just happened that last season. And I don't know about you guys. I had a kick with looking at the mentions in some on Twitter, even some of the Habs fans themselves.
Even Eric Engels was critical of it, and he's like the biggest fanboy of the Habs.
At this point, okay, what's happened has happened. It's just almost like a want to bet. Do you want to bet that they rescind this pick at some point this season? Because I don't think this is the end of this. So.
Well, I think, was it the Coyotes that had to do that, where they selected a kid who had, I forget
same situation, but
forget different. What he did. It was something not great, obviously.
Yeah, that was it was a little bit more.
It was
worse.
It was worse.
Put it that.
For sure.
It was worse. Yeah.
Now that I remember what it was, it was worse.
Yeah,
they rescinded it.
Correct.
And I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think so.
I don't know, man. I think
listen, I'm all for and I'm all for giving kids a second chance. Like, he's a young kid, he made a mistake. Nobody's perfect here. That's fine. I think the message of, like, if he would have not been drafted in the first round, him still being drafted in the first round is like, you didn't pay anything for this. Like, yes, at least I feel like he should have been he should have had to pay a price. And the price he should have had to pay was either him not getting drafted or him not being a first rounder. So, but of course, the Habs, they used the situation to their advantage, and it's just such a greaseball move on their part. I'm not
So,
surprised, though, like you said.
What do you think happens from here? What do you think happens?
That he's going to stay in their system. They'll try to rebuild his image, hope people forget, and move on.
Well, it wasn't the most infuriating part about the NHL draft for me, and I'll touch upon that later. But yeah, first of all, listen, what happened to the girl? It sucks. It's terrible. It actually kind of got me thinking about the drywall company there that kind of got a little bit out of hand, and then we all know about the videos that kind of you don't, and the person that probably put it out there didn't even think about it. They just sent it. But we know that's a really dangerous thing to do, man, because that stuff gets forwarded around really quickly. And so first of all, for her, it sucks. But again, this was a 17-year-old that made a really big mistake. And the one thing that really kind of has gotten to me is that he seems really contrite, and we all make mistakes. It sounds like this guy's.
How do you know he seems contrite? Because he released a statement.
Yeah, he's expressing.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
he's expressing enough. Okay, but Joe, until we know, we don't really.
Okay, fair enough.
So you're saying he's not contrite.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you're saying he did seem contrite. I don't know if he just sounds contrite. I can't sense that from one press release. Sorry.
This is the biggest moment in this kid's life, and he said, "Don't draft me." This is what he's been building up for 17 years, and for him to say, "Don't draft me," I could have seen him say, "Listen, I'm sorry for what I did," and that's it. But for him to say, "I don't want anybody to draft me," I thought it was I think it shows contrition, and that's what you want to see out of these guys. You want to see, you made a mistake. We can forgive you, but you've got to show that contrition. Now, I thought it was a silly move for the Habs because, by all accounts, this guy was not going to get picked for a few rounds. So they almost blew a first-round pick on a guy that maybe could have been drafted later on. And what if you really liked him, maybe you wait till the third, fourth, fifth round. But the one thing that we know is that he seems talented. By all accounts, he was supposed to be a high pick. If the Deshaun Watson stuff has showed us anything, it's that when there's talent in sports, we overlook stuff. Like Deshaun Watson, any other player, Deshaun Watson's cut right now. Like we realize that, right? Like
oh yeah.
But if he's
Drew Lock, yeah, of course.
If he's Drew Lock, he's cut. So he's getting extra release because he's talented. That seems what's happening here with this kid is that he seems to be really talented and he's being given that extra release,
which is how society has always worked.
Of course, yeah, and
unfairly enough.
It's
right?
unfair.
It sucks. It is what it is. But this is how sports has always been, and that's how society's kind of always been, right?
I wouldn't be surprised though if this guy gets put into some sort of system by the Habs or even by his agent where he says we're going to give money to women's groups, we're going to donate our time. I can see with him going down that route, but for me, if you can show contrition, then I want to be able to forgive you guys. We see a lot of times in football where these kids will make a mistake and they're just written off, and it's like, let's see contrition, let's see you build off of that, let's see you become a better person. But it sucks that this happened to this girl. Like that's awful. I'm sure I believe there's a criminal case still going on. So to say he's not going to pay the price, we don't know that yet. Like this has not reached his conclusion yet. So
I think he doesn't sign his entry level deal. I think I don't think he does. I think his rights.
I would love that. So that they wasted their first round. I would love it, but I can't see it happening. So
talk about being unbiased here.
I just think there's just I think there'd be too much pressure from the league to Montreal to not do it or rescind it. That's my gut feeling.
I don't think he feels it.
I want people to understand. Just because the kid said, "Don't draft me," doesn't take him off the draft eligibility list.
Yes.
That's a personal thing that a lot of people are getting confused with that. So technically what Montreal did was not illegal.
No.
Or wrong. It was just morally
just greasy.
Yeah. So it has to be understood. So the kid was eligible. Montreal took him. It was too soon. It's just for me it was too soon. So yeah, but what does it say about this is going to happen again. It's just inevitable. Stupid shit like this happens. And, it could be worse, could be not as bad, but people do tend to make big deals about these things. So what now happens the next time a kid, something comes up about their past? What stops another team from drafting a kid? You know what I mean? Like this is, again, now set a precedence. This has created more issues that didn't have to be that didn't have to happen. So that's my other piece. There's now a precedence has been set.
Did you see the interview with their I believe he's assistant GM, like head scout, Trevor Timmons?
Yeah,
He was
I
asked
read it. Yeah.
he was asked a good question that if the player feels that he's not worthy of being drafted, why did you feel differently that he is worthy of being drafted? And Timmons didn't know how to answer it. He just like stood there or sat there frozen. And after about 30 seconds, 30 awkward seconds, he just said, "Can you please, like, what do you mean?" Like trying to buy more time of how to answer the question. So, that discussion was held in their pre-draft meetings. They talked about it. They hummed and hawed. And I'm sure there was some dissension. Like they weren't 100% on board throughout that whole staff. And someone's got to say, okay, I'm going to make the choice. And that's Marc Bergevin. And yeah, he made the pick. So the criticism should go to him. It's on his shoulders if there is any. And it goes back to the Chicago situation, which he was a part of during that time. I find it really hard to believe that he knew nothing. I'm sure I do not believe that. So
I don't believe that for a second. Sorry.
For a second, please.
But let's just keep bringing this back to Matthews and pulling his pants down and showing
that's an
security.
equivalent.
That's in the same. Give me a fucking.
Listen, it's mistakes. These are young people making mistakes. We have to be able to forgive at some point. And listen, if he had hit a woman, like sexual abuse, then the league has to step in and say, listen, we're not letting him play in our league. But we're talking about a 17-year-old that it was just
did something awful. Yeah,
it was a bad mistake. I was more upset. Well, I shouldn't say more upset, but I was blown away by the NHL Comparables in the NHL draft. I don't know who's doing that list. But you want to talk about banning people from their jobs?
Oh man,
whoever did that list. And listen, I haven't really watched a lot of Owen Power, and I have a connection to the kid. He seems like a good player, but he was compared to Victor Hedman, and it's like, all right, maybe, like, I don't know. I haven't seen him play. 9 picks later, Simon Edmondson was also compared to Victor Hedman. 2 guys were compared to Victor Hedman.
There's a lot of Victor Hedmans. If he's tall and he's a defenseman, Victor Hedman.
Yeah, you wanted the best part about all of that is 3/4 of those kids didn't play a game this year. So they haven't seen these kids in a year.
It's
like,
yeah, this draft's such a crapshoot.
Look at some of these names. Here are the comparables: Victor Hedman, Ryan O'Reilly. That was the most reasonable one. Barzell, Shea Theodore, Mikko Rantanen, and Johnny Tays. Johnny Tays just grows on trees. Every year he's a comparable. Erik Karlsson, Mitch Marner, Victor Hedman again, Carter Hart. Who is doing these lists?
Pierre McGuire.
This was like this was a couple years ago. Remember when Baker Mayfield was projected number 1 and his comparable was Drew Brees, and it was like, wait, hold on a second. Because he's short and he's accurate, he's Drew Brees. Because he's short and accurate, he is one of the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time. What are you people doing at these jobs?
I actually feel bad for the athlete because it's just setting an unnecessary bar that they could probably never achieve for that. Like, I saw one prospect was comparable to Pavel Datsyuk. Like, imagine you're a kid, 18 years old, you're coming to a team, and all the fans see that you're comparable to Pavel Datsyuk. Oh, really? Thanks. You really?
We found Pavel Datsyuk.
I'm really going to be able to set that bar.
How about the opposite? When a guy is taken and their comparison is, Har Lindholm. Like, we've seen comparisons the 3rd and 4th line, but they're taken in the 2nd round. Those are even better. Like, what are we doing wasting a 2nd round pick on a guy who's projected to be no better than
barely an NHL
forward, you know what I mean? So,
but part of the problem is that, like, we don't watch the NHL, like, we don't watch the OHL, we don't watch the where the kids from Europe come from if they're playing over there. Like I rely on you, and to read this, it's like I'm not even gonna watch this. It's a joke.
Oh,
It's an absolute pull that one back. It's a joke. I don't know who these players are. Your job is to describe them to me in an accurate way. When they compared Baker Mayfield to Drew Brees, I was like, that's ridiculous. And then someone, real scout said, no, he's oh man, and of course I'm blanking on the name. He went from Minnesota to Denver as a quarterback, Case Keenum.
oh Jesus.
And it's like, yeah, that's actually accurate. What's Case Keenum? A guy that can't carry a good team, but when the situation is right, he has success. That's Baker Mayfield. Like, why can't we get that kind of comparison instead of he's Drew Brees? We had Joe Burrow. It's like, who's his comparable? Tom Brady. I'm like, okay.
Okay, forget
I'm
this.
done. I'm done. I can't deal with these comparables. And you know what it is? It's back to the Mike Mayock. These guys want jobs, and if they say every pick is good and every pick's going to be great, those sound bites sound great in 5 years. Because Mike Mayock loved every pick from pick 1 to pick 260. And then they're like, wow, look, he the 260th guy, he got it right.
Great pick.
Yeah.
He knew that fourth rounder.
Yeah, he says it about every pick. He's like, oh, I love this pick. I love that pick. That sounds like great. And it's like these guys, like it's your job to be accurate. And I couldn't take that broadcast seriously on I believe it was I don't know who had it. It wasn't ESPN.
No, it was NHL Network.
NHL Network had. I couldn't take it
seriously. And you know what?
seriously.
Hey, credit. It's funny to say it. Credit Sal Cosentino because he knew everything about those. Sam, sorry. I know a Sal Cosentino.
You definitely just mixed them up.
No, I did. I do. Credit Sam Cosentino because that guy knew everything about those kids.
Loved every pick too.
Story, what instrument they played, what food they like that's
who their fifth grade teacher was.
Oh my God.
He's gonna be a GM one day because he projected every pick to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And some GM's gonna look back and go, "Oh man, he got the seventh pick right. This guy's
somebody please hire Jeff Gordon so we never have to hear him on a broadcast again. That guy was the most miserable.
How did he get that? Poor thing. Poor guy was. Kevin Weeks was pretty good, but like, I trust these analysts to give me like accurate stuff. I couldn't take the broadcast seriously. It's the same thing with the MLB draft. I don't watch these kids in college. You guys don't watch this.
No.
It's your job to give us a realistic expectation. And that I'm apparently more infuriated about that than anything else that happened. And the NCAA having 3, like that was an anomaly too, but we'll talk about that another day.
There you have it.
We're gonna have to cut this